This is making you stupid. Have you ever experienced forgetting someone's name even though you've known this person for so long? Or have you experienced forgetting the words you were just about to say? Or some confusion with time or place? Have you ever told yourself, I'm becoming forgetful, I must be getting old? Well, it's true that with aging comes the shrinking of your brain by potentially around 4% per year. But what if I told you that this is speeding up the shrinking of your brain without you knowing it? Hi, my name is Jonah of Primal Thinker here. And if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll get notified every time I upload new videos. Okay, again, the entire channel is about leveraging Elon Musk's thinking method, first principles of thinking, to solve our real life problems. And enjoy this video, and I'm sure you're going to like it. Okay, let's start geeking out on this topic. Step number 1, identify and define your current assumptions. Well, when I was a kid, I thought that having a brain disorder will be the worst thing any human being can experience. And after I watched this film, The Notebook, I also came to the conclusion that brain disorders like Alzheimer's is just a matter of fate. Like you're just lucky or unlucky if it hits you, and you'll never know. But after geeking about this, I found out that it's not true, and most of us are living the lifestyle leading to these disorders. This entire video will explain why, and you'll get practical tips at the end of the video on how you can prevent from getting these diseases. Okay, step number 2, break down the problem into its fundamental principles. Well, again, our assumption is that we are just waiting for doomsday. It's either we have it or we don't have it when the time comes. But let's first understand how the brain operates. Maybe there's something we can do to strengthen our brains, right? And the number 1 principle here is that the brain is made up of brain cells called neurons, and neurons communicate with each other. Let's say we have neuron A and then neuron B. Neuron A can send and receive information from neuron B, and that connection specifically is called a synapse. And neurons communicate with each other via electrical signals. So this is one key principle about the brain. And to give you a clearer picture, this is what it looks like in your actual brain. And to give you some numbers, according to nature.com, you have approximately 86 billion neurons. That's right. So imagine one neuron talking to other 86 billion neurons, and that's really magical if I think about it. Okay, so our brain is made up of neurons. The next question is, what fuels up these neurons? Because apparently neurons are important. This is how the brain sends and receives information, right? And for this video, we will be talking about glucose. Yes, glucose fuels these neurons. Okay, that's one key principle again. The next question would be, how does glucose enter the neurons? Because the glucose cannot be used as energy or fuel if they will not enter the brain cells. So in order to do that, the body releases a hormone called insulin. And let's say this is your brain cell, and it has a lock called insulin receptor, and the insulin hormones acts as a key to this lock. And once the insulin unlocks this lock, then the glucose is free to enter your brain cells, and now your neurons will have energy. Okay, so that's another key principle. The next thing is, what triggers the production of insulin? because apparently insulin is important for the cells so that the glucose can come in, right? Well, the body is smart because whenever the blood sugar is elevated, the body automatically produces insulin. Well, this is if your body is functioning well. And so that means the more sugar you intake, the more insulin will be produced by your body. Okay, given that we have glucose and insulin and we need both of this for the neurons to have energy, right? The next question would be, so does it make sense that we just eat more sugar? Therefore, we will fuel our neurons, right? But the answer is nope, because it will trigger more insulin. And if we have elevated levels of insulin, this results to our cells, LOX, also known as the insulin receptors, they will be messed up. And this condition where the cells are resisting the insulin is called insulin resistance. So imagine this. This is your cell, and in your bloodstream there are a lot of glucose. And therefore your body produces insulin because that's how your body responds. But if this keeps repeating over and over again, your cells become desensitized from this influx of insulin, thereby whacking the system up, and the cells cannot, the glucose cannot enter the cells, and thereby the result of that will be starving cells. And for this topic about the brain, starving neurons. And guess what will happen? If they are not fed for a long time, they will starve and eventually they will die. Yes, this is where the death of the neurons come in. And this is why we forget things. This is why a thing that you've been doing for so long, suddenly you forget about them. That's because the neurons in that specific firing off for that specific task, they have died, and well, everything communicates from and to the brain. And if those neurons die, and that neuron is responsible for a specific task, say Patrick here, then Patrick will not be able to execute the task as before because the neural pathways have become messed up. Okay, poor Patrick, yes. And the next question now is, okay, we don't want to elevate our glucose and insulin levels, but what is the safe range? What does your brain want? And your brain wants only 1 teaspoon of sugar at any given time in your blood. Yes, you heard it right, just 1 teaspoon. And did you know that an average person in the United States consumes around 17 teaspoons of sugar per day? And this is why majority of the population has the condition called insulin resistance. So to summarize the principles, number 1, sugar fuels neurons. Number 2, the brain cells needs insulin for the glucose to come in. Number 3, the higher the glucose, the higher the insulin production. And if we expose ourselves to elevated insulin for long periods of time, this will eventually result to insulin resistance. And that's why your brain only prefers 1 teaspoon of sugar at any given time. So those are the quick wrap-up of the principles that we have defined. And step number 3 is how do we create new solutions from these principles. And we know what our brain wants, right? It's only 1 teaspoon of sugar at any given time. And it's simple, just listen to your brain. That means if you can maintain 1 teaspoon of sugar per day, well, that's good. And also, in order to do that, we have to maintain normal levels of blood sugar and insulin. Because insulin resistance is the result of too much insulin. And too much insulin is the result of too much blood sugar. So we want to be in the safe range of normal. And in order to be safe, just lower down your carbohydrates and sugar intake. And this could mean, number one, that's low carb diet. That means if you can limit the amount of carbohydrates and sugar that you are eating, that will greatly help your brain and your overall health. And the next option is only eat when you are hungry. That is the mantra of intermittent fasting. Because by doing this, you are giving your body time to lower down the insulin so that your insulin levels are not high all the time. Because if we eat frequently, like every 2 hours, we are elevating our insulin levels every 2 hours. So if we do intermittent fasting, we are giving our bodies the time to lower down these insulin levels, and that will result to reversing insulin resistance. And did you know that insulin resistance in the body is resulting to diabetes, and insulin resistance on the brain is resulting to brain diseases like Alzheimer's. And I want you to try to experiment if during the day you need to be more focused, you need more brain creativity and involvement, then you can try to lower your carbs or lessen your sugar intake, and let me know if you will feel smarter for that day. Hey geeks, thank you for geeking out with me throughout this video. Make sure you subscribe for more geeking out. And you know, this 19 sugar makes you stupid without you knowing it, so lessen your sugar. Thanks for watching.